We start this lovely story meeting a person named Ryus Narukami, who, as you can see, is not very normal. In fact, he tells us that he is a nini, a hikikomori, that is, a person who spends 24/7 locked in his room, and also a soul who's lost the will to live, which represents me. But suddenly, the door opens and a very beautiful woman appears, who, as soon as she enters, tells our protagonist that she found him and calls him the Scarlet-Eyed Demon King. According to the girl, she never imagined that he would also reincarnate in this world, but she won't let him say he's forgotten who he is, and our protagonist innocently asks who the hell she is. That almost gives her a shock, but she ends up introducing herself as Hanaori Meteoro, a wealthy, beautiful, and popular woman, but also the person who is going to take his life. Exactly what the guy does, call his mommy to have the police come because a crazy woman broke in. But honestly, she has a point. Our protagonist is a reincarnated demon king, but now an adolescent with social problems, and this crazy woman is the hero from the past who defeated him. But the ex-heroine continues to act very proud and still believes she is very strong and still thinks she's going to take his life, which is stupid to Ryu's because they are in a world full of peace. It makes no sense. To try to find some meaning in it, he even starts to believe this is because he is a hikikomori. And that's why he explains a bit about his day-to-day life. He wakes up, looks at the internet, spends the night playing video games, sometimes watches movies or anime, and worries so much about being surrounded by people that he decided to lock himself in his room. Yes, that hit a nerve. Lately, his sister, who used to be super adorable with him, now treats him like human scum and asks him to please go get a job, which is quite painful, and he doesn't even know if this can be called a life. But everything has its good side, and, redundancy aside, he is quite good at playing video games. His shoulders hurt from playing 10 hours a day, but while he plays, he forgets all the guilt that gnaws at him from within. And that's because, inside the video game, he can live to be the strongest. He was ready for anyone to challenge him, but now one just appeared in real life. Despite this, Hana tells him he can be calm because in this society she behaves herself. Or, well, that was the case until she found out he was also here, and she thinks about sweeping the floor with his head. Apparently, what happened is that she sensed his mana, that is his energy, and went looking for him. She didn't expect him to be locked in his room. That's why she mocks him because he has fallen so low. Faced with all this, what Narukami does is pretend he doesn't know her. He acts like someone else, like he doesn't recognize her, which hurts her a lot because she looks like a delusional lunatic if that's the case. And our protagonist tells her he does that because that's exactly what she is. Because of that, Hanari goes crazy and starts hitting the poor guy. The bad thing is that while they were like that, the protagonist's sister was passing by and caught them in a very compromising situation, and that leaves poor Hanari very traumatized, since even this idiot's sister is quite pretty. To try to comfort her, our protagonist stops acting like an idiot. Or I'm not sure if he stops acting like one, the line is very blurry. But what happens is, he tells her she is just as stubborn as before reincarnating, and he tells his dear arch-nemesis that it has been a long time. She is surprised that he is still alive, and calls her the thick-thighed hero, and she gets angry because her name is Hiro Meteoro. However, our protagonist explains something. She may be a hero and all, but she didn't cover up much, to say the least, and she chose that outfit herself. Hanaori's excuse is that she wore it that way to absorb the power of the spirits through her skin. It was something necessary to also boost her body, so it wasn't because she was a pervert. She asked him to just die already, which is ironic because she killed him once. Besides, she's angry because all this is his mana's fault. She was just passing by, sensed it, and came looking for the source. That's why she wants him to confess if he's planning something evil again, but our protagonist explains no. He was looking for someone, and the heroine gets her hopes up, thinking it was her he was looking for, although later she feels grossed out. But no, it's not like that. He clarifies that he is no longer a demon king and just lives proudly locked away, which is just embarrassing for Hanari. Hanari thinks that's the case because negativity is the dark side. And yes, she said it in English just to show off that she speaks English, but to our protagonist, she just looks even more like an idiot. However, Hanari keeps insisting having reincarnated doesn't seem like enough for him to calm down, and he should clean up trash, do some volunteering, at least something good for society. But our protagonist tells her that will never happen, and Hanari tells him that in that case, he should go back to doing something bad so she has a justification to take his life again, which is what she really seems to want. However, Narukami just wants to live in peace, something the heroine cannot believe. For her, this is the revenge of the demon king of the dead, an imperial mage from a nation that fell but who obtained forbidden power to get revenge and even become immortal. He had created an army of the dead, conquered countries that opposed him, and devastated the continent, eliminating people and leaving blood spilled. As the ruler of the dead, he was the enemy of those living on the continent, and it was said he had scarlet eyes, surrounded by flames and death. That is what our protagonist is. That's why she doesn't believe someone like that wants to live in peace. But once again, Narukami clarifies something. He was just looking to get revenge for his princess and ended up dying at her hands. That demon king no longer exists. I mean, the person he was looking for using his mana was the princess's soul. When he thought he could find her, even if there was the slightest possibility, he didn't stop looking, but so far he hasn't had any luck. And thanks to his sincerity, Hanari finally begins to calm down. She remembers it's true, he vowed to avenge his princess, and it even cost him his own humanity. That's why she asks him if he still feels something for her, because that would be too toxic of him, and she starts laughing. The idiot mocks him because that's surely why he ended up locked in his room, and all this, although later she rectifies it herself and apologizes for acting like that. But a demon king shouldn't behave like a human. However, he explains that he was already human before, although that doesn't interest Hanari anymore because, unlike him, she is still a hero, a weapon created only to destroy the demon king. So, she asks him to take responsibility. And things get a bit weird, but what she says also makes sense. The very existence of the demon king caused the birth of Hanari, so she asks him to take charge. But that's not our protagonist's fault because he didn't get anyone pregnant, and she tells him that's not what she is trying to say. She looks at him fixedly, and our protagonist tries to apologize, but it doesn't work. This girl gets even angrier, although, once again, from moving and fighting, she almost ends up falling, and our protagonist catches her. At that moment, his little sister was passing by again, and his sister, without mincing words, told them they are too obscene, and that depresses the heroine a lot, who now just wants to disappear. Furthermore, she wants to go to her house, but before that, she asks him to repent for his actions or else she won't forgive him. And the only thing our protagonist does when he sees her close the door is think that he never wants to see her again, and just to avoid doing it again, he thinks about looking for a job. That's how big his desire is to be at peace again. Thanks to this, several days later, we see his sister absolutely impressed, thinking the world is going to end because her brother is ready to start working. He is going to teach classes at an all-girls high school. He explains that it is because he has to stop causing problems for both her and mom. But his sister doesn't believe that. She tells him it's because of the woman who came over the other day, and that screws him up, but she is right. While they are walking together, he thinks about Hanari. He doesn't think that woman has abandoned her life as a hero and thinks that is also happening to him. Without meaning to, he says out loud that maybe she still needs a demon king. His sister asks him what the hell he is talking about, but our protagonist tells her it's just a story from a distant world, while inside he thinks he wants to live in peace in this world without swords or magic. Or, well, that was a good intention, but he made a tiny, serious miscalculation. Because the next scene is Hanari cornering our protagonist, as the heroine was going to be his student. As we said before, he started at an all-girls high school, and everyone won't stop talking about the new teacher. Many think he is actually attractive, although it seems he is always tired. And precisely one of the girls, named Makoso Satsuki, asks Hana what she thinks of the new teacher, and she, very disgusted, says she is not interested at all, only knowing that her dark era has just arrived. Furthermore, she wants to know why he draws so much attention, and her friend tells her that everyone is talking about him, even in the other classes. In fact, he is quite popular, and that is what Hanari also doesn't understand. She asks what is so good about him, and according to Satsuki, it's the dark aura he gives off, and that draws a lot of attention because he is also a mature and quite calm person. But for Hanari, that makes sense, as he is a demon king and also a hikikomori who talks to no one. So she tells her friend to be careful because surely he is a demon disguised as a person. And this leads us to the present. Hanari is cornering our protagonist, and he doesn't understand why, but she wants to know why the hell he is at her school